private, to protect what they'd built. But Ethan was done pretending. He told David he was thinking about leaving the church entirely, maybe even leaving Montgomery. And that's when David's fear turned into something darker. Because if Ethan left, people would ask questions. They'd wonder why the choir director who everyone loved suddenly disappeared. And Ethan, in his pain and anger, might not stay silent. David started imagining worst-case scenarios. What if Ethan told someone? What if word got back to the church board, to Rebecca, to his kids? His entire life would collapse. Everything he'd worked for, everything he believed about himself, would be destroyed. He couldn't let that happen. In early August, Ethan sent David a message. It was short, but it changed everything. It said, "I can't keep lying to these people. If you won't tell them the truth, I will." David's hands shook as he read it. He called Ethan immediately, his voice breaking, begging him not to do anything rash. But Ethan was calm, almost eerily so. He said he wasn't trying to hurt David, he just couldn't stand in front of the congregation every Sunday and lead worship while living a lie. He said he was going to talk to the church elders, not to expose David out of spite, but because he needed to be honest. He needed to be free. David spent the next 2 days barely sleeping. He replayed every conversation, every sermon, every promise he'd ever made. He thought about Rebecca, who had stood by him through everything, who believed in him completely. He thought about his kids, who looked up to him. He thought about the people in his church, the ones who came to him for guidance, who trusted him with their deepest struggles. And he thought about Ethan, the man who had somehow become the most important and most dangerous person in his life. On the night of August 10th, David called Ethan and asked him to meet at the church. He said they needed to talk one last time before Ethan made any decisions. Ethan hesitated, but eventually agreed. They met in the basement, the same place where the choir stored instruments and sound equipment. It was after 9, and the building was empty. David tried one more time to convince Ethan to stay silent. He offered to step down as pastor, to move away, to do whatever it took. But Ethan shook his head. He said it wasn't about punishment, it was about integrity. He couldn't keep being complicit in a lie, not when people's faith was involved. That's when David felt something snap inside him. Because Ethan wasn't just threatening to expose their relationship. He was threatening to expose who David really was, to strip away the mask he'd worn for decades. And in that moment, David couldn't see any other way out. He didn't plan what happened next. He didn't walk into that basement with murder on his mind.